Hello, everyone. This is Nat from Wellness with Nat, and today I'm talking on the topic of why does our mind keep finding something to problem solve? You know, this has come up in the Mind Your Mind group, and we were just talking about, why is it that we'll problem solve something and then we'll be worrying. And then we problem solve it and we're like, okay, we're done. And then our mind is like, bing, hey, here's something else for you to worry about. So I'm really excited on this topic. I've spoken to some psychologists. I've spoken to my Buddhist teacher, Lama Chodak Rinpoche, and I've done some more web research. Love it, love it, love it. So good. Needless to say, the lesson could probably go on for quite a while. So, with all the awesome findings. So, I'm just going to give you the key points so I can keep it under 15 minutes for you. But we can always revisit this. You guys can have either group sessions or one-on-one sessions with me where we talk about this stuff. So, welcome to being underneath the Bodhi tree. So, you may have heard of the Bodhi tree. The Bodhi tree is in Bodh Gaya in India, and this is where the Buddha obtained enlightenment. This is his favorite place to come and sit and meditate. For 6 years, he sat under this tree and he did a couple of kind of meditations, and one of them was the beginner's Buddhist meditation that we learn in my courses. It's all about that single pointed focus. And I thought it was relevant for today because, we are talking about anxiety. So the psychologists that I spoke to, and actually even my Buddhist teacher, all said that when your mind goes to that next problem to solve, it's all related to our anxiety. And one way to solve that is through retraining our mind with our diligent meditation practices, but not just, guided ones where you're listening to me or someone else and your mind just drifts off. To help heal our anxiety, unfortunately, we've got to do the work. So let me tell you what I found. So we're talking about anxiety, right? And we're talking about problems that, in fact, you might not have even thought it was anxiety. In fact, the psychologists I spoke to said that when we pick something to worry about constantly, like something solves, then we worry again. They said that's generalized anxiety disorder. So that's common because lots of people have generalized anxiety disorder, but life doesn't have to be that way. Pause for dramatic effect. So I was thinking about anxiety, right? So what are we talking about? We're talking about where our mind is telling us that we need to fix something. We've got to solve the problem. Or we wanted things to be different. So, something didn't work out the way we wanted. How can we make it different? Why? We're just going to keep replaying that. What if it was different? What if that didn't happen? Then what would have happened? Worrying about outcomes. How is this situation going to unfold? What's it going to be like when I go to work? What's the situation? Have I done it properly? Have I done it good enough? What are they going to say? Or you might be replaying conversations, what someone said, what someone did, and how that made you feel, or what you said and did and how it made you feel and the someone else feel. So they're the kind of simple anxieties that I'm talking about. Simple. So Buddhist perspective. Okay. So when I asked my teacher, I was so happy, like a little bit shocked even to hear this. So the more we become mindfully aware, the more we're regularly doing our meditation practices, the more we're actually going to notice our anxiety. What? Again, what? And that's because, you're watching you're the watcher, you're minding your mind, and you're actually becoming aware of your emotions. So when anxiety pops up for us regular meditators, we notice it a lot quicker. So I feel like any of you guys that are noticing that you're worrying more, or now seeing that you've got problem, solve it, problem, solve it, problem, solve it, massive kudos to you guys, because you're doing the work. You're doing this mindfulness work that you've come here to learn. So well done. And then, so my Buddhist teacher, Lama Chodak, said, goes, Nat, life is samsara. And what samsara means, that's the Buddhist perspective for our life. And that by our life, we mean life is shit. Life is full of suffering. In fact, every Buddhist book that I've ever read, any class I've ever been to, confirms that the whole pretense behind the Buddhist teachings is to help us mind our mind, is to help us learn to see within our mind, so that we can get a better understanding of our perceptions and the way we're thinking, and know that life is going to be hard and challenging from the day we're born until the day we die. And the Buddha noticed that regardless of your level of wealth, your level of health, your level of security, your level of intelligence, life is hard. And he just had this unwavering desire and mission to help us solve our mind problems. In fact, there's 84,000 teachings on the mind. So I think, this is why I love Buddhism. So that's, part of the Buddhist bit. And the other bit that I wanted to say that my teacher said, he goes, if you think about it, Nat, anxiety shows us that we care for ourselves, we care about our work, we're caring for others. It's our caring that makes us worry. And remember, for those of you who've done Creating Calm Through Chaos or the Buddhist studies with me, or with the Buddhist Society, any Buddhist society, you will learn about wisdom and compassion, right? We talk about balancing wisdom and compassion. So Lama Chodak said that when we care with fear, so when we care with worry and fear, that equals anxiety. But we can still care without anxiety. And guess what? When we care with wisdom, so we're putting our caring about work, caring about ourselves, caring about what other people have said to us, caring about others, our family or children or the world, any sentient being. When we pair that caring with wisdom, all of a sudden, the worry doesn't snowball. We're able to catch it. Interesting, isn't it? I was like, I see. So before I go on to the remedies, I'm just going to talk now about the psychologist, Western science perspective. So fortunately, unfortunately, we mentioned this a few times, but our mind is wired for a negative bias. And that's because our mind is trying to protect us from harm. So the reason that we fall into depression, that we worry, that we get angry, that we take things personally, that, we just get stressed, is because we are our body and mind is trying to protect us. And so that's when our amygdala back here kicks in, that fight, flight, or freeze response. And we often, with anxiety, actually experience all three of those. But when you're replaying, oh my God, I've got to submit this for work. Have I done it right? What are they going to say? Am I going to get this done on time? Are my staff going to have done what they needed? Will I have time to do what I need? How am I going to get my family responsibilities in as well? When we're just adding all of these on, we're actually pumping these stress hormones. And unfortunately, on the psychologist side, the more that we're feeding this negative bias, the more we're allowing our amygdala to go into fight, flight, or freeze. Unfortunately, we're increasing our stress hormones. And there's a whole science behind that, which I can do another tutorial for if you like. And the problem is, so the reason that we're going from one worry to the next is because your adrenaline and all your stress hormones are actually too pumped up. So your body isn't getting a break. So, you're not having self-care time. Your meditation practice might be short and sweet, but it sounds like you need to do it for a bit longer because you need to start getting in to actually calm things down. And, sometimes like Christmas, Easter, all of that kind of stuff, like when you can take a break, don't just take a day off or a half a day off, but try and give yourself a week or two. Our works often have holidays, and that's because holidays are really important. So I wanted to give you guys an example, right, of how this is filtered out for me. So recently I had something really fearful come up for me, and it was to do with my vision, and it was something that could have an impact on my vision if it went wrong, and I could have ended up blind. And I was like, oh my goodness, I am so okay with everything in my life, but I don't want to go blind. I was blind. I had a blind cane. I've got my sight back a lot. Like, why my vision? And because I've just, it was after lockdown, and we'd had 5 months in lockdown, 5 months of living alone, 5 months of being secluded, 5 months of washing our hands, just going out for essential things. And I did lots of study. So I really cocooned in. And lesson learned, I didn't burn out, but I had created this bubble of like, just come on, Nat, you got all this time, let's just go. And so that inadvertently weakened my nervous system. So then when this horrible, very threatening news hit me, my resilience wasn't there to be like, oh, I've just had a couple of week holiday, I feel fresh. You've hit me with some scary news. How will I handle it? What I did was I went into fear. And because with mindfulness, you have to face that fear. And the only way that I could regain control of my mind was literally sitting down with myself, sitting down with pen and paper and out in nature and just being blunt. Nat, if you go blind, what's that going to look like? And, as I started to do that, I could start to come out of it. And I was like, oh, it'd really suck. It'd hurt my pride. It would be devastating because I've done so much work to see I conquered my nervous system. But it was more pride, and stuff. And anyway, so I had to move through that. But while I was in those maybe 6, 8 weeks. While I was in that stage, I was experiencing what you guys are. So every time, everything would make me stressed. And oh my gosh, was I worried all of the time. And what I ended up realizing was, oh my gosh, this is what it's like to have serious anxiety again. And I was just issue, problem solve, feel 5 seconds of relief, and then problem solving again. Because something else would come up. I'm like, oh my gosh. But then I got through that stage that was causing the fear, and I met it head on, and I didn't lose my vision. Yay. And the whole time I continued my mindfulness practice. I continued daily doing the single pointed body scan that we learn and the single pointed breath. And that must have just been keeping me a little bit at bay. But I guess until I met the thing that was causing the fear, I was still holding on to it, right? But once that event finished and I've kept my meditation practice up still, I don't have that anymore. I don't have problems to solve. So what I do have is my negative bias and my monkey mind going, oh, hey, whoa, Nat, this upsets you. Did you remember that? And I'm like, oh, hey, you, that's right, that does upset me. Nothing I can do about it, nothing I need to do about it. Why don't I just let it run its course? And then I'm not ignoring my thoughts. I'm not pushing them away. I'm not completely observing them, mindfully going, oh, here you are, monkey mind. Tell me what's wrong now. Tell me I can't handle something. And then I'm having a conversation, I'm like, can I fix it? Yes, no, do I need to fix it? Or compared to nearly going and facing that fear again of going blind, that is absolutely nothing. And that's the remedy. So from both the Buddhist perspective and the psychology perspective, what we need to be doing is noticing that we have this habit of worry, because it's a habit. We're so used to worrying in tough times that this habit just sticks around. So we need to notice this, and we need to have a think about the transitory nature of our anxiety. So for your homework, I would like you to have a think about when we do our mindfulness of breath practice. So we're breathing in, retaining the breath, and then we're exhaling. And then the breath is it. That breath is done. And we take another breath, and then that breath is done. So the transitory nature of our breath is our reminder of how transient and impermanent all things are, particularly our anxiety. So I'd like you to have a think about a few of the things that you've worried about before. So whether it's to do with work or a relationship, and just have a think, something that you were like, oh, actually that wasn't that bad. Oh, I built that up in my head, didn't I? Or, okay, that wasn't very pleasant, but it didn't last for long, did it? So I want you to have a think of things like that. And I want you to start to rebuild another habit for yourself, something else that you can tangibly be like, actually, do you know what? I do worry. My mind is trying to protect me. And I am so grateful that you are trying to protect me, dear mind. But do I need to keep worrying about this? And then let me know how you go. Let me know how that starts to go with it in reducing and dropping the worries. And I'd also like you, if you need to, if you're getting in this state of mind, can you do your 10-minute meditation practice, beginner's Buddhist practice that we've learned, twice a day? And do it twice a day for 2 weeks. Or you could do another meditation and then add the single pointed focus beginner's Buddhist meditation, because so much stuff that I've read is we need to retrain our mind, and we need to retrain it with this specific Buddhist meditation practice. So you've got the tools, and you can allow your anxiety to be, remember, if we care with wisdom, the worry won't snowball. If we care with fear, that turns into our anxiety. So good luck. I'm excited to see how it goes for you. I know this has worked for me. I've just come out of this end of that perpetual spiral of worry, problem solve, worry, problem solve. And it is because we are too stressed. It's because we're overworked, because our resilience has faded. So taking a rest, doing your meditation, taking a holiday, connecting with loved ones, and remembering the transitory nature of your breath is similar to the transitory nature of your anxiety. We're going to worry. Remember, we're in a pretty shit world and pretty shit times, and life is challenging. It has been challenging for over 2,500 years with the Buddha. So let's mind our mind and let's bring this back in. All right, I hope that has helped, and I look forward to hearing how you go. Okay, bye.